I want you to try something. For the next 6 minutes, do not look away from this screen or stop listening to what I am about to say. Because if you do, whatever you see when you look away or whatever you hear will be your last vision and your last sound that you ever experience in life. Welcome back, everybody. I'm here, and it's time for some scary stories. Now, like the title implies, these are 3 real horror stories that will haunt you to sleep if you can. So, with that said, let's get right into it. Let me set the scene for you. It's late at night, and you're driving home alone after a long day on the road. Your car is low on fuel, and the nearest gas station has just closed. But there's a street lamp illuminating a driveway in the distance, so you decide to risk it and pull into the long, deserted driveway. As you get out of your car to investigate, it becomes clear that this place has been abandoned for many years. But the street lamp is still on, which raises all sorts of questions. Then all of a sudden, the ground begins to shake. At first, you think it's an earthquake, but then, out of the corner of your eye, you see a pair of headlights coming closer and closer. They come to a stop outside the house, and 2 figures start to emerge from the light. They begin to walk towards you, their faces distorted by the shadows cast by the street lamp. You turn and run as fast as you can. But wherever you go, those footsteps echo behind you. The darkness seems to be closing in on you, and the figures are getting closer. In the end, no matter how far you run, the silence is deafening. And the only thing that pierces it is the slow, heavy breathing of the pursuers who are now upon you. Have you experienced anything like this? Well, if you haven't, you should count yourself lucky, because, according to statistics, 1 in 4 people will experience something paranormal in their lifetime. This story comes from Reddit user Shadowversary. I was living in my college apartment with 3 roommates. One of them slept during the day due to his work schedule. The rest of us were up one night around midnight, and we heard some commotion in the apartment next door. Then we started hearing footsteps near our apartment. Being a college student, I assumed it was someone drunk. So I yelled, "Hey, you're drunk. Go home." The commotion outside the room stopped. My roommates and I continued playing video games and watching TV until around 2 a.m. when we heard a knock on the door. I opened the door, and there was no one there. I checked the peephole, and the hallway was empty. We called the police, who did a sweep of the apartment complex. But other than a cat that got in through the balcony, everything was fine. The next morning, after, of course, not sleeping at all, we went to the kitchen to find my roommate missing. His side of the bed was neatly made. He had gotten up at his usual time of 7 a.m. and left. He even left his breakfast on the table. None of us had any idea where he went or why. After calling him multiple times and getting no answer, we went to his favorite hangout spot at the local coffee shop. When the manager there told us he hadn't shown up, we became worried. We contacted his family, who filed a missing persons report. The police searched everywhere, but he was never found. No trace of him has been seen since that night. Did he leave town? Was he kidnapped? Or was he taken by whatever was making the commotion that night? Now, before I continue, I need to know, are you still awake? Well, if you are, I hope you're not scared yet, because things are about to get even scarier. In the darkest depths of a primeval forest, nestled among gnarled trees and ancient roots, lies a clearing shrouded in perpetual gloom. Within its borders stands a solitary house, a monument to forgotten sorrows. Its windows, vacant eyes staring blankly into the abyss. The house is steeped in a history of tragedy, whispering tales of despair and anguish through the rustling leaves and the mournful hoots of distant owls. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of decay, and every creaking floorboard and rattling window pane echoes with the ghosts of the past. Dust motes dance in the pale moonlight, revealing faded portraits of long-dead inhabitants whose somber gazes seem to follow your every move. The fire crackles merrily in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls as if animated by unseen spirits. But beneath the illusion of warmth, a bone-chilling cold persists, seeping into your very bones and chilling you to the core. Outside, the wind rises, whipping through the trees and carrying with it the sound of disembodied voices. Their whispers weaving a tapestry of sorrow and regret. The branches scrape against the house like skeletal fingers, tapping, and the shadows grow longer and deeper as night descends. Suddenly, a floorboard creaks upstairs, and the faint sound of footsteps echoes in the stillness. The fire sputters, plunging the room into darkness. You rush to the window and peer out into the night, but see only the dark, imposing silhouettes of the trees. Then, as quickly as it began, the disturbance ceases, leaving you in a heavy silence that amplifies the beating of your own heart. There are some places that are seemingly cursed, bringing nothing but pain, suffering, and death to anyone who enters. This story comes from a Reddit user. While working on a film in New Orleans, our crew rented a house on Magazine Street. It was a beautiful, old Creole cottage with a courtyard. We moved in on a Friday afternoon, unloaded our gear, and went out to explore the city. Upon returning around midnight, we noticed that the front door was wide open and all of our gear was strewn about in disarray. One of the producers had accidentally left the front door open, so we locked up and went to bed. That night, several of us were awoken in our beds to what sounded like screams in the night. Assuming they were just some New Orleans street person, we went back to sleep. On Saturday morning, we decided to walk down to the local coffee shop. While walking down the street, we passed the same house we had rented and noticed that the front door was again wide open. The locals we asked said that the house was notorious for strange activity. People would rent it, stay for a few days, and then leave because weird stuff happened. One of the more superstitious members of our crew left the next day and refused to stay there another night. The rest of us decided to stay, lock up the doors, and carry on with filming. In the middle of the night, I was awoken in my bed to what sounded like a woman screaming in pain. Again, we assumed it was just some New Orleans street person and went back to sleep. In the morning, we discovered that our equipment had been moved once again. I don't believe in ghosts, but I will never forget the eerie feeling of dread that came over me when we realized that we were uncrazy and that someone or something else was in the house with us. I thought it would be fun to end this video on a lighter note. So for this final story, I'll be reading from a website. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a young girl who was known for her beautiful singing voice. She would often practice her songs in the forest near her home, and the birds would pause their own songs to listen to her sing. One day, while she was singing in the forest, she heard a strange noise. It was a knocking. She stopped her song and listened, and she could hear the knocking again. Curious, she decided to follow the sound. She walked deep into the forest until she came across a clearing, and in the middle of the clearing was a tall, gnarled tree with a hollowed-out trunk. The girl approached the tree, and she could hear the knocking coming from inside of it. She looked inside the hole in the tree and saw a small, furry creature with big, glowing eyes. The creature was holding a small hammer, and it was using it to tap inside the tree. The girl asked the creature, "What are you doing?" And the creature replied in a gruff voice, "I am the forest spirit, and I am trapped inside this tree. If you can help me escape, I will grant you a wish." The girl thought for a moment. She didn't know what to wish for, so she asked for some time to think about it. The forest spirit agreed, and he waited patiently while the girl went back to her village to think things over. The girl thought long and hard about what she wanted to wish for. She could ask for gold or jewels, or maybe even a beautiful new dress. But then she remembered the forest spirit was trapped inside that tree, and she didn't want to waste his gift on something so trivial. She thought of all the people in her village who were sick or hurting, and she had an idea. She went back to the tree and told the forest spirit, "I wish for everyone in my village to be healed." And with that, the forest spirit was freed from the tree, and he flew off into the sky, leaving the girl and the forest. And now, if you're still awake, you win. Comment down below and let me know. And if you want to see another video like this, click the video on screen now.